What if the real reason you're feeling tired, disconnected, and less confident in your relationship isn't aging, but something silently affecting your body every single day? What if a common item sitting in your kitchen cabinet holds both the key to healing and a potential danger you've never been warned about? And what if the connection between circulation, intimacy, and one household ingredient after age 70 is more serious than most doctors are willing to say? You're not imagining it. That slow loss of energy, motivation, and intimacy is something millions of men over 60 quietly deal with every day. It's not just getting older. More often than not, it's linked to something deeper: poor circulation. And this one issue doesn't just slow you down physically. It begins to chip away at your vitality, your confidence, and even the emotional connection you share with the person you love. I'm Dr. James, and for over 30 years, I've helped men rediscover strength, energy, and intimacy through simple, science-backed solutions, many of which you won't hear in a typical doctor's office. In this video, I'll be sharing one of those tools. It's safe, it's surprising, and yes, it's probably already in your kitchen right now. But before you reach for it, you need to understand both its power and its risks. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to walk you through how to use it properly to support circulation, increase energy, and even rekindle closeness in your relationship, starting today. Before we dive in, if you find this kind of information helpful, I'd truly appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It helps more people discover these important health insights. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss future content. If you like what you're hearing so far, drop a number 1 in the comments. If not, leave a 0, so I know how to better serve you. Let's begin with a common but often overlooked problem facing men over 60: poor blood circulation. I want to start by sharing a story that stayed with me for years. A story that speaks for countless men, but is rarely spoken out loud. It's about Walter, a 68-year-old retired schoolteacher who had been married to his high school sweetheart for over 40 years. When he first walked into my office, it wasn't to talk about blood pressure or intimacy or even heart health, at least not directly. He sat down slowly, his weathered hands tightly clasped in his lap, and looked me straight in the eye. "Doc," he said, his voice steady but heavy, "I just don't feel like myself anymore." There was a quiet weight behind his words, a heaviness that didn't need to be shouted. It lingered in the silence between sentences, in the way he avoided eye contact, in the fatigue etched into his posture. I reached out instinctively, and I noticed something right away. His hands were cold. Ice cold. Which was strange, considering it was the middle of a warm summer afternoon. Walter began describing his days. He found himself falling asleep earlier and earlier in the evening, sometimes before the nightly news had even wrapped up. His afternoons were a blur of exhaustion. Energy that once carried him through long days as a teacher now seemed to vanish before the sun even set. He felt sluggish, disconnected. At first, he chalked it all up to aging. "Maybe this is just what getting older feels like," he said. But as we continued talking, the real story began to emerge, something far more personal. Walter hesitated for a moment, then admitted that his relationship with his wife had changed, not because of physical pain, but something much harder to name. Intimacy between them had become infrequent, awkward, and emotionally draining. He wasn't just struggling with connection, he was grieving the slow fading of a part of himself. He described it like watching a light go out in slow motion. The vibrant, confident man he once was now felt distant, like a version of himself that belonged to another life. And this wasn't just affecting his body, it was creeping into his sense of identity. He began to question his role as a husband, a partner, even as a man. And here's the truth. Walter's story is not rare. In fact, it's far more common than most people realize. Behind closed doors, many men over 60 are silently dealing with the same issue. And the root cause? Poor blood circulation. It's one of the most widespread, yet most overlooked, health concerns for older adults. Circulation might sound simple, but in reality, it's the quiet engine behind our energy, our function, and even our emotional well-being. It's a silent thief, one that doesn't arrive overnight but slowly creeps in, year after year, stealing vitality, chipping away at confidence, and quietly disrupting the emotional and physical connection we have with those we love. And it all begins with something deceptively basic: blood flow. As we age, the inner lining of our blood vessels, called the endothelium, starts to lose its flexibility. The arteries, once pliable and responsive, begin to stiffen. Think of it like a garden hose that's been left out in the sun for too long. It cracks, it resists, it struggles to deliver. That's what happens inside the body. Smaller blood vessels, particularly the capillaries responsible for delivering oxygen and nutrients to our extremities, organs, and tissues, begin to narrow or even shut down completely. Blood doesn't flow the way it used to, and the consequences ripple outward in every direction. Suddenly, cold hands and feet are more than just a nuisance. They're signals. You feel tired for no clear reason. That afternoon walk? Skipped. The spark in your relationship? Dims. You're not lazy. You're not weak. Your body simply isn't getting what it needs to keep going at full capacity. No matter how much sleep you get, the fatigue lingers. And when those private moments with your partner don't feel the same, when responses are dulled or desire fades, you may think it's just part of getting older. But these aren't just minor inconveniences. They're signals, warnings, and too often they're ignored until the damage is harder to reverse. What's happening inside doesn't show up overnight. It's a slow, creeping process, a quiet thief that robs you piece by piece. Many men, like Walter, simply accept this decline, thinking it's a natural part of aging. But let me be perfectly clear with you. This is not just getting old. What we're talking about here is poor blood circulation, a medical condition, and it can have serious consequences, ones that go far beyond the physical symptoms. When circulation weakens, it doesn't just drain your energy. It affects your identity. It impacts your mood, your confidence, your relationships. Over time, it can chip away at your sense of self. I've seen good men, devoted husbands, slowly withdraw from intimacy, not because their feelings changed, but because their bodies no longer responded in the way they once did. And that disconnection? It creates confusion, frustration, and even shame. They don't know what's happening to them, and worse, they don't know what to do about it. But there's hope. And this is the part I need you to hear. This decline, this slow fading of vitality, is not inevitable. In fact, there are safe, science-supported ways to support your body's natural circulation. You can improve blood flow. You can restore elasticity to your vessels. And yes, you can reclaim the energy, the confidence, and the passion that you thought had slipped away for good. Now here's something most people don't expect to hear. One of the most effective tools to begin that healing process may already be in your home. It's not a rare supplement or expensive treatment. It's a simple, familiar item you probably walk past every day in your kitchen. I'm talking about baking soda. Not the kind you casually toss into your pancake batter, but this common compound, when used in a specific and thoughtful way, can create powerful changes in how your body functions. You might be wondering, really? Baking soda? And I get it. It sounds too simple. But don't let its simplicity fool you. In just a moment, I'll walk you through exactly how baking soda works within the body to support healthier blood flow, what science says about its effects, and how this overlooked ingredient could be the key to reversing many of the issues you've been struggling with. Stick with me, because what you learn next could shift not only how you care for your body, but how you feel in your relationships and in your own skin. If you're still here with me and finding these insights helpful, please take a moment to comment the number 1 below. It lets me know you're walking this path with me, and I truly appreciate your valuable time. Now, let's talk about something even more serious: the true consequences of poor circulation. I'll never forget the day Charles came into my office. He was 72, full of stories and grit, the kind of man who took pride in being the rock for everyone else. He was always the neighbor lending a hand, the guy out early fixing fences, feeding stray cats, planning thoughtful surprises for his wife of 50 years. He carried himself with a quiet dignity. Always had. But that day, something had shifted. Charles didn't look sick, but he didn't look like himself either. There was a weight to him, not in his body, but in the way he carried it. His shoulders seemed lower, and the usual spark behind his eyes was gone. He leaned forward, rested his hands on his knees, and with a voice barely louder than a breath, said, "Doc, I don't feel like a man anymore." Those words hit hard, and not because of what they said, but because of what they revealed. We did the routine checks. His heart sounded steady. Blood pressure? Normal. Labs? Nothing glaring. But medicine isn't always about numbers on a page. Sometimes it's about listening, truly listening, to what a patient isn't saying out loud. What Charles was dealing with wasn't just cold hands or tired legs. His body was quietly struggling to send blood where it was most needed, not just to his limbs, but to the systems deeply tied to how he saw himself, his vitality, his intimacy, his emotional bond with his wife. Poor circulation wasn't just stealing his energy, it was eroding his sense of self, and that's the danger many don't realize. When blood flow slows down, it's like watching the lights dim in your home, one switch at a time. At first, it's subtle. You feel a bit more tired in the afternoons, even after a decent night's sleep. You brush it off, thinking it's just normal aging. But then your sleep becomes restless. You toss and turn, wake up feeling just as drained as when you went to bed. And soon, even your mood begins to shift. You start to wonder, is this really just age? Or is something deeper happening beneath the surface? That lingering feeling of unrest. That sense that your body just won't fully recharge, no matter how much you sleep, can be more than just a sign of aging. Before long, you notice subtle but unsettling changes in your intimate life. What used to come naturally now feels awkward, forced, or even out of reach. But here's the thing, it's not just about the body. These changes creep into your thoughts. You start to second-guess yourself. You feel a distance growing between you and your partner, even if you're sharing the same bed. And then comes the hesitation, the quiet avoidance of affection. Not because love is gone, but because the fear of not being able to respond, of failing in that most vulnerable moment, becomes too heavy to carry. Now let's talk about what's really happening inside the body. At the center of it all is a critical process called endothelial function. The endothelium is the thin, fragile lining that coats the inside of your blood vessels. Think of it as the conductor of your circulatory orchestra. When it's in good shape, it produces nitric oxide, a powerful molecule that signals your blood vessels to relax and widen. That's what keeps your blood moving freely, delivering oxygen and nutrients where they're needed most. But as we grow older, the wear and tear of life starts to show. Years of stress, poor eating habits, lack of physical activity, they all begin to chip away at the health of the endothelium. When that lining becomes damaged, nitric oxide production declines sharply. Without it, your blood vessels become rigid and narrow. Blood doesn't flow the way it should, and the body starts to pay the price. And here's where it gets especially important. The smallest blood vessels, those fragile capillaries, are the first to suffer. These vessels support critical functions like arousal, warmth, mental clarity, and overall vitality. So what begins as simple fatigue, chilly hands and feet, or reduced performance in intimate moments can gradually evolve into something much more serious. Poor circulation isn't just uncomfortable. It's your body waving a red flag. It's often one of the first signs of broader vascular problems, issues that can increase your risk of heart attacks, strokes, kidney damage, and other life-altering complications. And for many men, it also means a steady loss of confidence in the bedroom, especially when even medications stop working. What's most troubling is that most men don't realize what's happening until it's already well underway. They assume it's just aging, just a phase, just life. But the truth is, it's not just life, it's a treatable condition. And recognizing it early could be the first step toward reclaiming not only your physical health, but also your confidence, your relationships, and your sense of self-worth. The effects of poor circulation often go unnoticed, until one day you're sitting in a doctor's office, just like Charles, asking yourself how things ever got to this point. It sneaks up slowly, doesn't it? One change here, one slip in energy there, and before you know it, you're wondering where the old you went. But here's the truth I see every single day, and it's what gives me real hope. Your body was designed to heal. When given the right tools and support, your blood vessels can regain their flexibility. The production of nitric oxide, that crucial molecule responsible for keeping your blood flowing smoothly, can begin to rise again, naturally. And the best part? You don't have to depend on synthetic drugs that come with a list of side effects longer than their benefits. In fact, one of the most effective tools I've recommended for years isn't found behind a pharmacy counter. It's been sitting quietly in your kitchen cabinet all along. When I began teaching my patients how to use it properly, men like Charles returned with a spark in their eyes I hadn't seen in years. "Doc," they'd say, "I honestly didn't think I'd ever feel this alive again." So what is this humble yet powerful ingredient? Let's talk about baking soda. Used correctly, in a science-backed and responsible way, baking soda can support the natural healing processes of your circulatory system from the inside out. This isn't about some trendy health hack or a gimmick pulled from the internet. It's about understanding the chemistry of your own body and working with it, not against it. Baking soda or sodium bicarbonate might seem too simple to make a difference, but sometimes the most profound healing solutions are the ones hiding in plain sight, right there among the ordinary items we overlook every day. This isn't about magic. It's about measurable biological support that helps your blood vessels function better, helps restore the energy you thought was gone for good, and yes, even improves your connection and confidence in the most personal parts of life. So if you've made it this far into the video, I want to thank you for staying with me. And if you're still here and finding this information helpful, please comment number 2 below. That way I know you're still on this journey with me. It means a lot. Now let's dive into part 3. How baking soda, yes, that simple white powder, can become a meaningful part of your health transformation. That humble white powder tucked away in your kitchen, maybe next to the flour or buried behind your spice jars, is something most of us associate with making fluffy pancakes, freshening up the refrigerator, or scrubbing away stubborn stains on the sink. Rarely do we stop to think about its deeper potential, especially when it comes to supporting the body's internal systems. But for many men facing the slow, silent impact of poor circulation, the kind that drains your energy, chips away at your confidence, and quietly damages intimacy, baking soda might just hold more power than you ever imagined. I remember clearly the day Harold walked into my office. He was 67, a retired math teacher with a soft voice and calm presence. He spoke gently, but his posture and eyes told a different story, a story of fatigue that had worn him down over time. He had tried it all. Name-brand supplements, costly medications that came with pages of side effects, and even those odd, uncomfortable gadgets you see on late-night TV commercials. "Nothing sticks," he told me, his tone thick with frustration. "I feel like I'm chasing shadows." But what truly weighed him down wasn't just the exhaustion in his muscles or the fog in his mind. It was the emotional toll. the slow, painful sense that he was fading from the man he used to be. And he wasn't ready to surrender that identity. That's when I asked him a simple question, one that caused him to pause, his brow tightening in confusion. "Harold, do you have baking soda in your kitchen?" He blinked. "You mean for cookies?" I chuckled softly and nodded. "Yes, but not just for cookies." That moment was a turning point. It opened the door to a conversation that shifted Harold's perspective entirely. He had no idea that something so ordinary, so overlooked, could be part of a natural, supportive approach to restoring vitality. Let's be clear, baking soda is not a miracle drug. It's not a magic pill or a one-step cure. But when understood correctly and used responsibly, it can help your body do what it was designed to do: function better, circulate blood more efficiently, and help you reconnect with the energy and strength you thought were long gone. It's not some magic bullet. Baking soda is a humble, time-tested compound that, when used mindfully and appropriately, can support improved blood flow, enhance oxygen delivery, and make a real difference in how you feel as you age. But to understand why this simple substance holds so much power, we need to take a closer look at what's happening inside the body as the years go by. As we get older, our internal systems naturally shift toward a more acidic state. This isn't just a random change. It's the result of years of cumulative factors. Diets filled with processed or convenience foods, the long-term effects of stress keeping your body in constant alert mode, and the gradual decline in kidney function all contribute to this acidic environment. And this internal imbalance isn't just some abstract health concept. It brings real, tangible consequences. When your body becomes too acidic, your blood vessels tend to tighten, restricting the free flow of blood. This alone can make circulation less efficient. But that's not all. Excess acidity also reduces the availability of oxygen, a critical fuel every single cell in your body needs to function optimally. For men already experiencing sluggish circulation, this combination creates a double burden: less oxygen and tighter vessels. The result? Not just cold feet or stiff muscles, but a persistent sense of fatigue, stiffness that seems to linger no matter how much you stretch, and challenges in intimate moments that quietly chip away at confidence and closeness. Here's where baking soda comes in. A small, carefully measured amount mixed with water at the right time can begin to neutralize this acidity, gently guiding your body back toward a more balanced pH. When your pH is better regulated, blood vessels can relax, circulation becomes more efficient, and oxygen is delivered more effectively throughout the body. Now, the results aren't instant or flashy. You won't wake up the next morning doing cartwheels, but they are noticeable and meaningful. I've had patients like Harold, under proper medical supervision, report subtle yet deeply transformative shifts. Mornings no longer feel so heavy. That usual mid-afternoon slump becomes less draining. There's a quiet return of energy, of motivation. Even a gentle spark of confidence begins to glow again. Start the day, and something subtle begins to shift. Joints feel more fluid, muscles loosen with less resistance, and that familiar stiffness that once made mornings feel like a chore begins to ease. And in some men, there's something even more surprising: a return of sensation, a warmth, even a quiet flicker of vitality in parts of the body they'd quietly given up on. These are not overnight transformations, and let me be clear, baking soda is no substitute for the essentials: a nourishing diet, regular movement, and effective stress management. But for many, it becomes a catalyst. It's a gentle nudge to the body, reminding it of what it's still capable of when given the chance. Harold's story is one of countless others. After a careful conversation about how to use baking soda safely and effectively, he began with a modest, precise dose, always under my guidance. Within just a few weeks, he noticed changes he hadn't felt in years. His energy returned, making his daily walks enjoyable again, not burdensome. More importantly, He began to reconnect with his wife, with himself, and with the version of life he thought he'd lost. It didn't fix everything, but it shifted the tide. And sometimes, that's all we need, a single shift to remember that healing is still possible. But now, I need to share something just as important, if not more so. While baking soda can be a powerful, gentle ally when used correctly, it is not something to experiment with casually. Misusing it, or trying to guess the process without proper understanding, can turn this potential solution into a serious setback. And I've seen it happen. That brings us to the next piece of this story: the very real danger of using baking soda the wrong way. For every Harold, there's also someone like Dennis. A 70-year-old man full of life, Dennis played golf twice a week, kept up with his garden, and had a deep appreciation for the simple joys in life. One day, he stumbled upon an article online, one of those quick-fix wellness posts touting baking soda as the ultimate solution for poor circulation. He thought, why not give it a shot? Eager for results, Dennis began taking a heaping teaspoon of baking soda mixed with water every morning, and then added another dose each night. He figured, like many do, that if a little was good, then more must be better. He didn't consult anyone, didn't measure carefully, and certainly didn't understand how powerful this simple white powder could be. Within just a week, Dennis found himself in trouble. He became bloated and increasingly sluggish. His energy crashed instead of rising. Then his blood pressure surged unexpectedly, and he ended up in the emergency room with heart palpitations and disorienting confusion. His kidneys, already weakened by years of silent wear and tear, simply couldn't manage the sudden overload of sodium. The baking soda, though natural, became a burden too heavy for his system to handle. That moment was a sobering reminder for all of us. Just because something is found in your kitchen doesn't mean it's harmless in any dose or for every person. Baking soda isn't inherently dangerous. It's a naturally occurring compound, one that's been used safely for generations in countless ways. But it is potent. And that potency requires care, especially when we're talking about internal use. This isn't like taking a multivitamin you barely think twice about. Baking soda alters your body's internal chemistry. It shifts pH levels, impacts fluid retention, and increases sodium in your bloodstream. And as we age, those systems don't tolerate disruptions the way they once did. For older adults, especially those with pre-existing kidney concerns, heart conditions, or those taking medications like diuretics or blood pressure drugs, that internal balance becomes fragile, like walking a tightrope. Even a small push in the wrong direction can send the entire system off balance. Too much sodium bicarbonate can trigger irregular heart rhythms, cause fluid retention, or send blood pressure soaring to dangerous levels. In Dennis's case, what began as a hopeful attempt to feel better turned into a medical emergency because he didn't understand the risks. He didn't know the guidelines. And sadly, he's not alone. I've had many heart-to-heart conversations with patients just like Dennis, people who wanted to regain their strength, shake off the fog of fatigue, and feel whole again. But in their eagerness, they skipped the most important step: guidance. Shall I continue with what happened next and how to use baking soda safely, based on Dennis's story? They wanted to reclaim their energy, their spark, but they rushed forward without having the full picture. The encouraging news is that these risks aren't inevitable. In fact, they're entirely avoidable if you approach baking soda with the right knowledge and care. And by care, I don't just mean using a smaller scoop or skipping a dose here and there. Real care means understanding the proper dosage, knowing the best time to take it, and staying well hydrated to support your body's natural balance. It also means being aware of how baking soda might interact with your current medications or existing health conditions. If your body is already managing high blood pressure, reduced kidney function, or taking diuretics, your margin for error narrows. This isn't about forcing results, it's about cooperating with your body, reading its signals, and giving it the right kind of support. I always tell my patients, just because something is natural doesn't automatically make it safe in every amount. Water is natural too, but drink too much too quickly, and it can overwhelm your system. Baking soda is no different. Used correctly, it can help, but misuse can lead to setbacks. If you're still with me right now, that tells me something important. You're not here looking for a gimmick or a magic bullet. You're seeking something real, something sustainable. You want to feel like yourself again, more energized, more connected, more alive. But you want to do it wisely, without putting your long-term health on the line. That's exactly why I'm here. I want to walk you through this process the right way, step by step. In the next section, I'll guide you through the same method I give to my patients: the precise dosage, the ideal timing, the critical hydration step, and a powerful tip that helps boost results while keeping risks to a minimum. This isn't guesswork. It's not a trend. It's about supporting your body in a safe, smart, and effective way. If you're still watching and finding value in these insights, please comment the number 3 below to let me know you're with me. Your time is valuable, and I deeply appreciate you spending it here with me today. That's exactly the right question to ask, because as we've already seen, the difference between helping your body and accidentally harming it often comes down to how you do it. For most generally healthy adults over 60, the safest and most effective place to begin is with a simple, measured step. Just 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda stirred into a full glass of water. Take it on an empty stomach, ideally first thing in the morning. Not after a meal, not before bedtime, and definitely not several times a day. Just once. That might sound too small to matter, but believe me, when you're dealing with your body's internal chemistry, small steps are the smartest ones. I remember a patient named Ray, 74 years old, who came in frustrated by frequent energy crashes in the afternoons and circulation issues that made even short walks feel exhausting. We started with that same gentle protocol: 1/4 teaspoon each morning mixed into a full glass of water. Within just 3 weeks, he came back to me with a smile and said, "Doc, I don't know what's happening, but I feel sharper, more balanced, and my hands aren't freezing all the time anymore." That small shift made a real difference. But here's something most people overlook: hydration. Baking soda is only part of the story. It works best when your body is properly hydrated. That means drinking water consistently throughout the day, not just when you're already thirsty. When your blood is well hydrated, it flows more smoothly. Oxygen moves more efficiently. And every organ in your body, including those responsible for intimacy, begins to function with renewed vitality. So don't isolate the baking soda as a miracle fix. Think of it instead as one piece of a broader shift in how you support and care for your body. And most importantly, if you're taking medications, especially for high blood pressure, heart issues, or kidney conditions, always consult with your doctor before making any changes. This isn't about creating fear. It's about showing your body the respect it deserves. After all, you've lived through decades of experience. Your body is a masterpiece of endurance. Would you drive a classic car without first checking the engine and fluids? Treat your health with the same reverence. Most men don't need a miracle. They just need that first small victory, that one encouraging change that reminds them, you're not finished, you're not broken, you're still in there. That's what this small, consistent habit can become, the spark that ignites meaningful change. Sometimes the most powerful transformations begin not with a dramatic overhaul, but with one steady, thoughtful step. And if everything you've heard so far feels like it might be the key you've been searching for, then I encourage you to stay with me just a little longer. Because in the final part, I'll share the story of a remarkable 76-year-old man who followed this exact protocol, along with one simple addition, that elevated his progress in a way that even surprised me. You won't want to miss what happened next. And that brings us to the close of today's video. I truly hope what you've learned here has opened your eyes in the same way it has for the countless men I've had the privilege of helping over the years. But now, I want to hear from you. What's one insight you gained today about improving your circulation or reclaiming the energy and confidence you deserve? More importantly, what is one concrete step you're going to take to put this into action in your daily life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read each and every one. Your experience, your commitment, might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear today. And if this video resonated with you, please take a moment to leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to share it with someone who might benefit. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more straightforward, practical health advice tailored for strong, vibrant living in your later years. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself. You've still got so much life to live. Wishing you health, happiness, peace, and don't forget to subscribe to Healthy Aging Blueprint.